into the axle housing in this direction, that is a new race for what we would call the outer bearing. And he used a special aluminum driver and tapped that in and seated it. And you can also see a little opening right there where as the ring gear turns, it would put oil in there. And there's a look at the driver right there.
Just
so that's
interchangeable aluminum.
Yeah, interchangeable aluminum pieces.
That fits in there.
And then you can just take a hammer and seat that thing
there.
nice and level until it lands. So that one could go right in. That is a new race installed right there. All right, so
Oh, Dee Dee just started the car. So before we gun this down,
yeah,
I always like to make sure we started the pinion nut by hand.
yeah, which we did.
We got it started, but it was only on there a thread or two. I'm using the old pinion nut on the new pinion, which is fine, the threads are the same.
Yeah.
Right into that once where they weren't.
That's
ruined a pinion. We want to make sure, because this outer bearing is a light press fit, so is the yoke. So the new holder tool seems to be working pretty well.
And I can come hold that for you and help you out, Susan.
We'll put the gun on it eventually, but I want to make sure that the nut. Yeah, the new holder's working good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Dee.
She already moved off. Okay, so the pinion nut was put on, and for the purpose of our testing, Mike's happy with where that is. So if we come around here and look inside, you can see the inside of the pinion gear right there. What we're doing here now is pressing. So these are new bearings that are, as we showed in the earlier video, two different size bearings. So you got to put in this case, a larger one on the passenger side and the smaller one on the driver's side. And Mike is spinning that bearing so you can just see that nothing is impeding the rollers from turning or the cage. And same thing, that's just getting pressed in till it stops, correct?
Yep. And there we are.
And there you are, right like that.
We're there.
So Mike's just, looking for an adapter that'll, again, fit right in here on this so that nothing gets harmed when the press presses the bearing on.
I mean, this would work too. I've got all kinds of, this is just an old inner race of one of these.
Yeah.
But you can see how it fits the cage.
Sure.
And the opening is big enough that it will drop over that
Without causing any problems.
So we'll try this one, because they don't have to move the
race.
they don't have to. Make sure everything's good, and then you can feel it, even if it started a little crooked. You felt, I don't know if you could.
I could see it,
You could hear it, I could feel it, and it just lined right up. And
pressing on there nice.
yeah, going on nice and smooth. These are press fit. You can hammer these on. They're not I don't know how many thousands they are. 1.5, maybe 2 thousandths. I mean, you could hammer these on if you had to.
Yeah.
Done that before. If you ever get one where I just did one, and this fell right off, just like my setup bearings do.
Yeah.
So somebody either ground it out, probably ground it out to make it an easier slip fit. But they should not slide right off. They're
They shouldn't
definitely
slide
meant
off.
for a press fit.
You should be using some type of press to get them off.
Okay.
Just using
106. We'll go with 106.
106 thousandths of an inch. These are the original shims on the bearings on the carrier, correct?
Yeah, now if we needed to get any more accurate of a measurement, I could get out a micrometer and we could get a real, but for what we need, this is fine.
Okay.
If I push on it, I can get, 74. there's a little subjectivity in here. I'm gonna go 75. I could force the thing, the tongs over, but that's probably just some deflection in the tool. Advantage is, they made it a little easier for us to.
So Mike's putting the carrier in with the stock shims for now, just as a starting point.
Okay, well, while you're filming, just put your hand on that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have my mallet. I left it over here. Got it. Carefully tapping these
Yes. Yeah, you got a nice little brass rod there.
in. Yeah, it's going right in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hear the sound difference?
Yeah, beautiful.
And I'm just gonna verify that the shims are all the way down in there. There they are. Now, at this point, we haven't spun anything, so I have no idea
Right, what we're up against.
how much backlash we're gonna have, if this is even gonna work. I feel some.
Yeah.
We might be okay, but let's,
Yeah,
so what we're gonna do now is I'm not gonna worry about the wiring.
correct. Because we know it's going to be coming back out anyway.
We're gonna put the bearing
Bearing
cap
caps
bolts on.
Of course, they are marked left and right, top, bottom. Usually
Well,
the casing has a mark
In this
sometimes.
situation, I didn't have to mark these because
Yeah.
they're two different
Two different
sizes.
sizes.
But they do have an arrow that points
Arrow.
to the outside.
Yeah, and I think there's a mark here
And there's
too.
probably a matching mark
Yeah.
there. Now, normally, let's say this was a Dana 44 old school, a JK, or a Dana 60, I would mark these, I would clean them. I would either take, you could use just a simple punch and make one dot here and a matching single dot there. Or you could take, I have number punches. It doesn't matter. You just need to know
Proper orientation.
how to put your caps back on in the same orientation, how to line up the marks. So this side, here's something good to point out. And I don't know, I guess we could squeak that in. Normally we would be snaking the wires through at this point. I'm not gonna do it yet. But there is this tin cap on here if I pull the bolts out.
Much like the JK, but it looks like the JL one's a little beefier.
So regular bearing cap, obviously a different size. It's still got the arrow pointing out, but it has this tin piece on here. And you'll see this on an ARB also. This is just an anti-rotational plate that holds the electromagnet from spinning.
While the carrier spins.
Right, without that plate in there.
Yeah.
If we turn this, you can see how that magnet
yeah.
would move.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
And it would just annihilate
No good.
the plug connector on the solenoid. So.
Right. For now, because we are going to be turning this differential, we're going to leave it on there. But when we do set this up for the final, before we put this on, we have to fish the wires out through this hole back in here.
Correct.
I think for now, there'll be enough room
Yeah, I think so too.
to just leave those wires out in front. And that'll fit in that little notch. And let me go grab a...
What is it? What is it, 18?
15.
15,
I believe.
okay.
I think I had one out on my little impact gun. You forgot whatever, and you need something as simple as a file to fix something.
Yeah, so you're just snugging these so that the carrier's in position.
Right, these go to, what did we say in the sheet, 60 or 70 foot-pounds?
Correct. A little different from the JK, where the Dana 44 for the Rubicon is 80 foot-pounds. When Mike researched the spec, I think it was 60 to 72. We'll verify that. So he's turning the pinion, and you can see the ring gear moving.
I already don't quite like the way it feels, Rick.
Feels too tight.
Yeah. Here is, I'm going to measure the backlash real quick. I don't think we have enough. I also don't like the way it feels when I turn it yet. But we want to see where we're at. Do you want some light?
No, I actually have too much light from that window, so it's okay. I got you good here.
So what I've done, now you can see I've got a dial indicator on one of these teeth. I'm moving the gear and I don't feel any backlash at all. Zero. You could see on the needle. I didn't zero this out. I mean, we can zero this out, but it really doesn't matter. So they're calling for 3 to 7 thousandths, which is not a lot.
But you don't have anything.
But I don't have anything. So we'll go somewhere else and just check a couple more teeth. I can tell you there's not enough, and it's a little hard to turn. So we've got something going on already with not enough backlash. Now, but this is our first shim try. So yeah, I've got nothing for backlash.
Okay.
So what I do want to do though, because it'll give us an indication of pinion depth, is I want to mark some of the gear teeth and just run a gear pattern on it.
And just see what that looks like.
Right, because if we accommodate for backlash now and get that set correctly, the pinion may still be in the wrong spot, and we might have to reshim the pinion, which means then we do have to reshim the backlash.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do, I'm not gonna get too crazy here, I just wanna get a quick sample of the pattern that'll help us decide where we need to go with this. We know we don't have any backlash, so we already know that's a problem.
Correct.
Which is where the fact that we measured those factory shims is gonna come into play and help us. Because if I need to move, let's see, I think the left side was 106 thousandths, and this was 75.
Yeah.
So we might want to move this over 10 thousandths.
Okay.
So we may want to increase that to 85, but decrease this to 96. That's where the two different size diameter shims is going to make things a little more difficult. I'm just going to I'm going to go up here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I need to turn this off.
There you go. You got about 90 more degrees and you'll start meshing.
I mean, I don't think we're far off because it turns smooth. It's not binding, it's just tight.
All right. Another turn and you'll be able to look. All right, check it out. Pretty much right there. You did one full turn.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little hard to see. Let me go around again.
Okay.
Ideally we want to, now not all of your gears are going to mesh and cover the entire tooth, but as much centered from heel to toe.
Okay.
And from the crown to the root, so you're kind of in the middle of the tooth. Now we know we don't have enough backlash. I mean, we're definitely, contacting more towards the heel, and you can see that here. I mean, our contact pattern is high.
Seems to be up that way, correct.
And it's to the back. So we're gonna have to make some shim changes here and
Okay.
increase the backlash for sure, which should move that pattern
Back this way.
out towards the heel of the gear.
Okay, so the heel is this
Heel is
side,
the outside.
right here,
Toe is
the
the
outside.
inside.
That's the heel side. And then the toe side is inward towards the center of the carrier. Cleaning off the gear compound, the paint, so we can check it again. We removed the shim, which made an adjustment, and we're in the adjustment phase. So this is the second time around right here.
It already feels better.
Feels better? Okay, new coat of paint on the teeth. We'll be spinning this ring gear again, and we'll see how our pattern is. Am I right in saying last time we were too far in toe, right? In towards the carrier, we wanted more to come out towards the heel?
Yeah, the pinion was in
Yeah.
too far out.
Okay.
So it was a high contact pattern. It was far out.
A lot easier to turn it this time around, huh?
Oh, much nicer. Much nicer. And we'll just hope that,
Yeah, you probably got to go around again, but I can see it. I'm beginning to see the pattern. I think maybe take it around one more time. And
yeah, the nice thing is it's not that hard to take apart
Yeah.
and move some shims around. And, we may end up sinking the pinion in a few thousandths more. It might make things just a little
All right,
better.
you want to look at that?
Yeah, tell me when to stop.
Right there.
Right
Actually,
there?
you can go the other way a little bit. Yeah, bring it back up where you got, there you go, where you got some good contact.
So we're gonna get our dial indicator just setting on the edge of a tooth. And you could, there's a million different stands. I have this one, I like it. It's kind of hokey, but it's easy.
you get
It's
it right-
fairly easy to set up.
You get it right on one of the teeth.
Yeah, we just gotta keep adjusting it so that I can, the lock lever.
So continuing with this, I think this is maybe the fourth round of putting the carrier in. It's a back and forth game. There's addition, subtraction, there's charts. You can really see why a job like this takes some serious expertise and patience, and we want to get it right. So we just cleaned the paint off the gears, and
Is that dry enough?
not quite yet. And then we're gonna repaint them and see if we're seeing some improvement with the gear pattern. Okay, so just, using this, Mike has a lot of these different charts for the different brand axles and so forth with proper gear pattern. But, it says here for the ideal contact, pattern is spread evenly over the tooth profile with concentration nearer the toe than the heel. And as we've said earlier, the toe is this side towards the inboard and the heel is out here. So right now there's 38 thousandths of an inch shim on the pinion. We know we don't have our backlash. We're still gonna tweak that, but you can definitely get a nice look at the gear mesh right there. And Mike's pretty happy with that. So as I said in the last video clip, the pattern's really nice, but now we need to start working on backlash, and we need to subtract from one side and add to another, and basically move the ring gear that way towards the passenger side to move it away from the pinion gear and get the tolerance that we're looking for, which is anywhere from 3 to 7 thousandths of an inch backlash on these gears. So Mike is basically miking and checking the widths of these shims and seeking out the new numbers that he wants, which in this case we want to try to get 85 thousandths on the driver's side. And it is interesting because the JL has two different size bearings, so obviously the shims are two different sizes as well, with one size being smaller than the passenger side. Think you got your 85?
I'll go with that.
Yeah,
I'll
good
take
number.
that.
Good number. All right, there's one side.
So that's the shim. Well, we can kind of come pretty close to what we need to move to get to where we want to be.
This might be the fourth or fifth time, but we definitely have. We're working on our backlash right now, and we changed the whole shim setup around, did some math, and we'll see how we made out here. We know what we had, so we're gonna at least be moving in the right direction.
Okay. Maybe we're not bad.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean,
All right. So my trained, tuned ears are off just a little, but and for those really particular,
yeah,
we can zero this out.
yeah, we'll zero it right out.
Of course, we got to get everything to
Everything
stay.
just right.
For the purposes of videography here and documentation, we'll zero it out.
That's right.
Usually I don't bother zeroing it out. I just, I look at the readings and.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pull down all the way down.
Yeah.
And I gotta tighten this up just a little
Dial
more so it
indicators.
doesn't move.
Giving you a little grief today.
Yeah, it's just bad dial indicator day. It happens. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You can't see anything anymore.
Nope. Welcome to the elderly.
In my last year of the good life here.
Yeah, you're gonna
All
be.
right. So 0.
Yeah,
Does that come up on the camera? I don't know if the light helps you or not.
there it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow, 6 thousandths. Wow, outstanding.
Is that what you're getting? 6?
Yep.
So that's our back.
All right, so happily, our backlash we're really pleased with. So now we're cleaning the gear set, and we'll use marking compound again and we're definitely moving in the right direction. After maybe five or six times, started really coming together nice. And it's just amazing how much work's involved with, you know, just getting the right shim arrangements on the left, the right, and you can definitely appreciate the skill set and the patience that you need to have when changing out these gears. Okay, Mike, bring us up to speed.
We blew it all apart again. We got everything set right. The only thing left to set is to put the new inner race in. The shims are sitting over there, so we'll drive this in. If you recall, we had a setup race where the outside was ground down, so it would be slip fit, you know, light. You still had to work it in there, but it wasn't loose.
Right.
The new one, I'm gonna hammer in. So we're gonna put this one aside. This will be a setup race for the future. Brand new crush sleeve goes on the pinion. Inner bearings in. We're gonna get some oil, put some little motor oil. I just use light motor oil.
Yeah, just a light motor oil just to get them wet.
We're gonna put the outer bearing in after we put a little oil on it and a new seal.
Outer bearing, new seal.
What I like to double check before we get too carried away is that the new seal is just like the old one. It fits the yoke right, so it's definitely the right seal.
Okay.
Seen it before when you pound a seal in and realize they gave you the wrong seal.
And that came with the kit?
Yep. This came in the kit. It fits. It'll fit in the housing fine.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, we're not going to do this yet until I put the race in.
Okay. So the race is the next step?
The race will be the next step.
On the inside.
On the inside. So I've got the new race. We didn't grind anything in here,
Right.
so
It should just clean out nice with some brake cleaner. So so basically, Mike has we put the shims aside, but they need to be installed, and then the new race now is going to be driven into the housing, and he was just showing me this race install driver. That he'll be using to actually just drive the race in, the inner race.
Sinker.
Mike put a little grease on the shims just so they stay together. There's I think 4 of them in there actually to get the right thickness that we wanted. You can see the new race is just placed, and now he'll use the new driver tool and just drive that into position.
There's nothing pretty about this.
Yeah, you can see it right there, but you do have the right tool, and that fits perfectly on the outside of the race so that it doesn't get damaged.
Right, well, we hope. Check it. Yep, she's going in square. I could just feel around the edges. So I'm just checking the depth here to make sure it's not cocked one way or the other. If it were cocked one way or the other,
you have to take it out and redo it.
The nice thing to go to is the brass punch.
Yeah.
You can
So
usually you can straighten it out.
To straighten it out a little bit, right?
Right, the high side out. But this felt like it was going in pretty good. And you could feel it kind of nestle in there. And that's it.
Yeah.
You hear the sound.
You can see Mike's just adding a little bit of oil to the bearings.
It's
a light
You don't
oil.
want them to
It's just-
start up dry.
He just doesn't want them starting dry, so they got a little goop on them.
Bathed in gear oil. If you did this when you were setting it up, it would make a huge mess. You'd have oil
And you'd be
everywhere,
dropping the
but-
shit all over the place.
So next thing we're gonna do is same deal. Little oil on the outer pinion bearing. Just work it over the rollers. I mean, this is just motor oil. I don't know why it's purple looking, but my kid probably filled it with expensive purple race motor oil or something. But so this goes in. I always double check. Crush sleeve is on.
Yeah,
I
crush
put these
sleeve is
together
on.
and forget it,
Yeah.
and then it's just a matter of
Brand new crush sleeve just sitting there.
This is the tricky part.
So now that race was already in.
The race is already in. Same process. I put the old race out.
So the bearing's going in.
New race
and
in. Bearing in.
And then we have the brand new seal. Now you're going to use like a large socket or tool to put.
I'm gonna go
for that.
see if I can
Yeah.
find something that'll
that's pretty
match
big,
the lip
right.
on this. They
Just
do
to-
have a special
Just
tool.
to tap the seal in.
for this.
All right, Mike found a nice race that fits that seal really well. So he's just tapping in the pinion seal right now, and he's just trying to get it nice and square.
I mean, you can see you can't even push that on.
Yeah.
Would you mind handing me the mallet, the big one?
Okay, the seal is in, and now we're just starting the flange, getting the flange started onto the pinion. We have a brand new nut that'll be going on there. As soon as Mike sees enough threads where he can catch that nut, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, we got to be careful because we don't want to mess up the new seal doing this.
That's right. We got a brand new seal, and the crush sleeve is in place. So now this will be the next little tricky thing that involves some finesse, as well as using an instrument to get the right amount of inch pounds.
Okay.
What do you need? So one of the interesting things about this is when we put this nut on there, and really we didn't think we put that much on it, but when we use the rotational gauge for inch pounds, we were already double of what we wanted. So that means we have replacement crush sleeves, and we're gonna redo that and be even more cautiously than we were originally, so that we hit our target as far as rotational inch pounds of 25. This is 50 right here. And even though it turns quite nicely, the preload is set too high, correct, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a 3/4 inch breaker bar, and you can just see the amount of work and strength it's taken to tighten this pinion flange nut down.
Crushing the crush sleeve now at this point.
Okay, so the crush sleeve on...
We've been crushing the sleeve.
So that's what it is. You're fighting the sleeve. He's working for this. Okay, after a very tedious process, maybe even 12, 15 times, just tweaking that pinion nut, this is what we got on our gauge. All right, Mike, what are you reading there?
Reading a little over 25 in one direction.
Yeah.
25 in the other.
Okay.
Inch pounds of rotating torque.
That's rotating torque.
Right where we want to be.
Right where we want to be, and that's with the carrier out.
And when we tell you it took, what?
Oh,
1/8 of an inch of turning this. If you mark the socket, we turned it 1/8 of an inch.
1/8 of an inch.
At a time
At a
until
time.
it snuck up. You got to sneak up on it.
Yep, but
As we found out the first time.
Yeah, the first time we overdid it, and so now we're gonna have to get another crush sleeve. But we had our second crush sleeve, and we definitely nailed it on the second time. Okay, so we put the carrier in, and the bearing caps, of course, proper orientation, and they're just, everything is just hand tight right now. But I just wanted to show that the wiring, you can see it comes down on a sharp angle, and it just sits above the bearing cap on the driver's side. Then it went through, and Mike has already plugged it in on the back side. I'll come around there and show you that all plugged in. And there's a good look at it right there. I'll zoom in. So that's the JL setup. Just one nice gasketed plug right there, as opposed to the JK that has two. What was the torque spec you came up with for the bearing cap?
65 to 73.
65 to 73. So
These are 15 millimeter heads.
15 millimeter head. He's using the crisscross pattern. He's got a nice, sophisticated digital torque wrench right there, so he can dial that right in nicely.
This thing is worth every penny they charge.
Wow,
you
that
for
is
it.
amazing how good that is too.
Well, it'll do angle torque too.
Wow.
So when you're gonna do a head bolt that's 60 foot-pounds and then
Oh,
90
shit.
degrees of rotation, and a lot of these new torque to yield fasteners are that way. So you really have to be able to do angles. Newton meters. This one will do inch pounds, but it doesn't go.
The carrier in, we're just putting the inch meter
I'm gonna get on this side.
on there.
So this is total torque to rotate, is what they call it, TTR.
TTR, total torque to
And
rotation.
we're up to about 40,
40 with the carrier in.
35.
And all torqued up the bearing
So what
cap.
that's taking into account is the preload on the pinion.
Yep.
And because we're also turning the carrier, so that's also the preload on the carrier bearings.
Mike,
All right, so we're gonna start this, feed this the two-piece inner shaft in.
two-piece axle shaft, the inside one going in.
All right. Now the grease seal is right here for that.
Right.
So I've got my hand in there.
Just to gently work it through that seal.
There is a ramp.
So that's nice that
Get your camera right up in there, and you can see.
oh yeah,
See how it hits that ramp?
there's a little ramp and that just guides it nicely
Guides it
through
right
the seal.
up through the seal.
You don't have to worry about damaging the seal.
Right. And now we're just gonna grab it, kind of a little bit at a time. There's also a ramp in there.
Yeah, there's a ramp on the inside of the carrier as well. We showed that in some of the earlier video.
And you can actually feel it. Right now
Yeah.
I'm not in yet. A little bit further, I'm right at the entrance.
Yeah.
Now I'm into the
You're in.
splines.
That's it. Yeah, you can tell.
That's
Boom.
it. All the way.
And there you go. All the way. And
However,
yeah.
one important thing we have to put on, that little clip, that groove right there,
oh yeah, you're right. That stops it, right?
there through that seal,
Yep.
you've got to take this little snap ring off.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like an E-clip.
Right.
The way I did it was I took, we're gonna put it back on and I'll show you, but I took my adjustable slip joint pliers over each side of it. So I basically had both tips like that.
Right.
I just gave it a little tap and it went bink.
And it was able to come off the shaft.
Yep, and then I rotated it around and I just pulled it out. Going back on.
Yeah, you're close.
Same thing in reverse here. I think it just
Yeah.
needs a little.
There it is.
There it is. So that
Right.
clip there has to be in there. All right, and then our axle goes into the diff. The reason the clip is there,
To stop that sliding piece from
Right.
going too far. That
this
actually,
is the sliding
Yeah.
collar that locks in four-wheel drive. And it keeps it from going over too far and probably getting pushed off the
Sure.
splines.
So that's
So
it.
the next thing that we're gonna do is put the outer piece on.
Relatively simple.
Yeah, not bad.
Little coupling, basically, a splined coupling that just sits on the edge of the shaft. Now the other axle will mate with that.
You know, I didn't look in the end of there either. I don't know if there's a little roll.
Mention this too, that there's a gasket here. You can see it. This is just a little gasket that stayed put on the axle tube right here.
So we cleaned the mating surface on the unit bearing and the steering knuckle. Wire brush on a drill worked fine. Anti-seized the mating surface, so hopefully next time if this ever has to come apart, it will.
And then you can see what's going on right here. There's a centerpiece that goes inside. There it goes, right there. Now you're just trying to rotate it so it mates in a little bit.
Yeah. What I might have to do is get the bolt started and then maybe spin that and get the coupler. I think the coupler wants to be on the outer part anyway. Let me get the bolts started
Sure.
so it'll hold it
Yep.
in there.
Yep.
How was your day today? Just another day?
Tightening up the unit bearing, which is also pulling in that outer shaft. You can see it. You can see the gap closing.
You want to do the other one? While we get the shift motor? Or no? Okay.
Okay, putting the FAD motor in. It's pretty cut and dry. The fork goes over that collar. You can see you got.
Just gotta be careful to get the fork pads over the collar.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's.
Don't
in
worry
the-
about the bolt holes yet.
Yeah, it's make sure that it's in that little recessed area.
Colin, is that light over there?
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. No. Colin, I don't know where the other light went. The second one, this one needs to be charged. There we go. Okay, I just want to verify. I don't know if it would fit any other way.
No.
4 bolts hold the motor in place. 1 electrical harness plugs in, and then there's a skid plate that goes around it.
There we go. 2. Nothing could possibly go wrong here.
No,
Dragging
no,
this
looks-
through a swamp. And,
Yeah, right. Okay, so things are going together well. You can see the front axle disconnect motors in place, the skid plate. Both axles are in. ABS speed sensor. Dust shields on the axle. One on both sides right there. Kind of keeps some of the shit out of the axle tubes. These unit bearing bolts are in and torqued. Cleaned out the differential housing is nice and clean. So we got some steering components to put together. But I think we're going to be actually testing. The drive shaft is hooked up, the front drive shaft. I think we're actually going to be putting it in 4-low and just testing the locker and verify that we see this plate click over and that everything's okay in the front locker. For our testing purposes, we got the rotors on, adapter brackets, calipers. So we can actually, we're probably going to lower this thing down, actually start it, put it in 4-low and test the front locker and just make sure everything's okay. Obviously, tie rod is not hooked up. We don't care. We just want to engage this locker.
Down the rocker switch right here. Down is the rear, up is both.
So basically we're testing it. We're not starting the vehicle. We just got it on accessory. So the JL, when you toggle once down, it's rear only. If you toggle up, it locks the front and the rear at the same time. A little bit different setup than the JK.
Close your door for a second. You're going off.
Okay, so this is the plate. All right, so go ahead and put the toggle all the way up. Okay, see how it moved over like that?
Wow, that's slick.
Yeah, it's not a lot of movement, but
Yep.
yeah.
And our
Boom.
coupler moved.
Yeah, coupler moved and
the drive shaft
Yeah.
is hooked up and we're in
yeah,
4 wheels, so I can't spin anything really.
no.
Because he's probably in gear. The transmission's probably in gear.
Yeah, it's not in neutral.
Go ahead and lock it, Colin.
And there it goes. Yeah.
That's it, huh?
So that's it. I think, you know, again, now you've got movement. I think if we started the vehicle in neutral, you'd see it work a little more fluid. Happy in closing today. We just got the tie rod and the drag link to put on, but we actually started the vehicle and tested the front and rear lockers. They worked beautifully, as well as the front axle disconnect engaged and disengaged as it should. So this job is technically halfway done, and it was a success today. So that's it. Recon Jeeper out.